Have you ever wondered how a government agency can build a coaching program that actually works? I mean, not just on paper, but one that makes a real, lasting impact? Well, today, we're going to break down the blueprint for doing just that, intentionally, from the ground up. Let's dive right in. So, why is this so important right now? This whole idea of coaching in government isn't some new, fleeting trend. Way back in 2018, the Office of Personnel Management, that's OPM, put out this landmark memo, and it officially gave coaching its stamp of approval, calling it a key tool for developing the federal workforce. And that, right there, was a total game changer. It was strategic endorsement from the very top. I mean, this quote from that memo really says it all, doesn't it? We're not just talking about fuzzy, feel-good benefits. We're talking about tangible, bottom-line results, more productivity, better retention, and people who are actually engaged in their work. The message was crystal clear. Investing in coaching is investing in the agency's success. Okay, so what exactly is coaching? Let's make sure we're on the same page. The International Coaching Federation defines it as a partnership, and that's the key word. It's not about telling people what to do. It's a creative process designed to help people unlock their own potential. The person being coached is always in the driver's seat. And this brings us to a really common point of confusion. Coaching is not the same thing as mentoring. A mentor is all about content. They give you advice based on their own experience and expertise. A coach, on the other hand, is focused on the process. They ask you powerful questions to help you find your own answers. It's a really important distinction to make right from the start. All right, so now that we've got that foundation set, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the practical side of things. We're going to walk through the blueprint for building a really successful program, and it all starts by asking the right questions. This is the central question, isn't it? Anyone can slap a program together, but to build something that actually lasts and thrives, you need more than just good intentions. You need an intentional design. And that's exactly what we're about to unpack. Think of this as your roadmap. There are 5 key questions you've got to answer. First, who are you even coaching? Second, are you going to use coaches from inside the agency or bring in outside experts? Third, will you build your own training or buy an existing program? Fourth, how in the world are you going to market this thing? And finally, how does coaching fit in with everything else the agency is doing? Nailing the answers to these is absolutely crucial. So let's jump right into step 1. These first few decisions about who you're going to coach and who's going to do the coaching are foundational. They're going to shape literally everything that comes after. So who gets coached? Traditionally, coaching was this perk reserved only for senior executives. But that's really changing. You see agencies like the EPA opening it up to everyone. Then you have places like NASA and ICE getting really targeted, focusing on specific needs like leadership development. This isn't just a random choice, it's a strategic one. You have to ask, what's the return on investment for coaching this specific group? Okay, so you've picked your audience. Now for the next big question. Who is actually going to do the coaching? This is another one of those critical forks in the road with some pretty significant trade-offs to think about. So, on one hand, you've got internal coaches. They know the culture, they're less expensive, but they can run into conflicts of interest. On the other hand, you have external coaches. They bring a fresh, unbiased perspective, but they cost more. And that's why, a lot of agencies are landing on this hybrid model. Maybe you use external coaches for your top leaders and internal coaches for everyone else. It often gives you the best of both worlds. Okay, foundational decisions are made. You know your audience, and you have a plan for your coaches. Now it's time to move from planning to practice. Let's talk about how you get this program off the ground and, more importantly, make it stick. This next question is all about capability. You need to make sure your coaches actually have the right skills. So the question becomes, do you build your own training program from scratch, or do you buy a proven one that already exists? And honestly, your main objective is what really drives this decision. If your goal is to coach everyone in the agency, yeah, building an internal program probably makes the most sense. But if you're only focused on coaching a few senior leaders, buying those services is way more efficient. It's a big strategic and budget choice. Building is a long-term investment, while buying gets you immediate expertise, but it comes at a higher price tag. You could build the best coaching program in the entire government, but if nobody knows it exists, well, it doesn't really matter. That is why marketing is so vital. It's about having a real plan, getting leadership to champion it, and this is the big one, sharing success stories to prove the program's value to everyone else. Now, this next point might sound like some boring organizational chart stuff, but trust me, It is huge. Where does the program actually live in the organization? If it's in the chief of staff's office, it has instant credibility. If it's in the training department, it makes sense for development, but it might be the first thing on the chopping block during budget cuts. There isn't one perfect answer, but where you place it has very real consequences for its survival. And that vulnerability really speaks to a larger truth. Any program that exists in a silo is fragile. It's an easy target. When leaders change or budgets get tight, those standalone initiatives are always the first to go. For coaching to have long-term sustainability, it can't just be an add-on. It has to be woven into the very fabric of the agency. Because ultimately, this is about way more than just checking a box and saying, yep, we've got a coaching program. The real goal here, the true transformation, is to build an entire culture of coaching. And why does a coaching culture matter so much? Well, check out this number, 65%. That's how many employees in organizations with strong coaching cultures rate themselves as highly engaged. That is a massive number, and it ties directly back to those benefits OPM was talking about. Retention, productivity, this is the ultimate prize. You know, this quote from one of the OPM pioneers really captures the passion behind this movement. It wasn't just some top-down policy. It was a groundswell of people who truly believed in the power of coaching to help their colleagues grow. So, we'll end with this thought. Anyone can create a program. It's a plan, it's a structure, it's a set of services. But building a culture, that's a true transformation. That's something that changes how people interact, how leaders lead, and how an organization fundamentally grows. So the question is, which one will you build?